Dear brothers, happy Friday, boys. I got a ton of questions yesterday about the protein conversation and eating protein and how much to get. And I actually changed up what I was going to post for the podcast today because I just got so much questions about this. So the question I kept getting asked was, can I lose weight and still be able to maintain my muscle mass or even build my muscle mass? And a lot of people were basically like, I just, if I'm cutting weight, I don't want to, that means I'm probably cutting protein or whatever. And so I'm going to cover all that a little bit, kind of piece by piece. So the first part of this is when it comes to losing weight, we kind of look at, three different ways that we can do it. One of them is tracking your calories. You're eating less and you're tracking exactly what you eat. That's kind of the first one. That's the MyFitnessPals or like my own app where we just track what you're eating. And as long as it's less than whatever your metabolic rate is, then we're in good shape. Second way is kind of indirect. So say for instance, you decide, this happens all the time when people go vegan or they go keto or they do the Atkins diet. Naturally, when you do that, you tend to eat less because you're just eating less stuff. Naturally, if you eat a keto diet, your carbohydrates drop off the face of the planet and you just tend to eat a little bit less, so that's kind of the way it is. The third way is time restriction. So this is basically people that are doing intermittent fasting. They're limiting the window in which they can eat, and it just becomes harder to eat a lot when your window is kind of shrunk down. So a lot of people do like a 16 and 8. I've seen some people do more than that, but that's kind of your typical. But in 8 hours, maybe there's only so much you can eat. And so those are kind of your three big ways that we see people lose weight. And all three are effective. Even with intermittent fasting, people kind of swear by it. And it does help people lose weight. But a lot of that is just because their window is shortened, and so they're eating a lot less. So the problem in all three cases, especially in the intermittent fasting case, is that one of our big concerns is that people are limiting how much they're eating. And if we're not keeping a good eye on protein, they're also eating less protein. So when you ask the question of, I want to maintain or gain muscle mass, well, not having enough protein isn't a part of that conversation. If you sacrifice your protein, just understand that muscle protein synthesis, the growing of muscle, the building of muscle, simply isn't going to occur as effectively. So something you need to understand is that what we really want, so you're listening to this right now and you want to lose some weight, especially you want to lose a little bit of fat weight. Protein is a non-negotiable still in terms of caloric number. So again, we talked yesterday, you want 0.8 to a gram per pound body weight of protein per day. Even when you're trying to lose weight, you're not touching that number at all. So that was one of the questions I kept getting yesterday was, well, if I'm trying to lose weight, is it less than that? No, there is no change. You are always, no matter what, your protein stays the same. And understand something, protein isn't like an energy substrate. So we don't use protein to help us move and shake. It's not one of the things that we utilize. Carbs and fats, we do. Those are utilized. Those are stored in our bodies if we don't utilize them for energy purposes. So there was a great study, and I'm going to forget the researcher, but anyways, they looked at if you were to do a high carb, low protein diet versus a high protein, low carb diet, but the calories were the same. The people that ate high protein, low carb, although the calories were the exact same, they burned a little bit more calories because protein has a little bit bigger of a thermogenic effect. It helps you burn calories a little bit more because it's a little more costly to kind of break down and move through the body. So just understand that protein isn't going to get changed. So if you're looking to lose weight, it is vital that you are not sacrificing protein to do that. It's one of the big concerns I have with people, especially if you are someone who is maybe a little bit overweight and you haven't been doing a lot of resistance training to that point. So your skeletal muscle mass is low and your body fat is a little bit high. I'm pretty leery about cutting calories or doing something like intermittent fasting, because if you're eating less, then that means I have to also be conscious of if you're eating less protein. We just can't have that happen. So as long as you've set your protein goal. So again, so say that I wanted to lose weight. I was, for argument's sake, 250 pounds. And we'll say that, I wanted to be 220 pounds. I needed to lose 30 pounds. I'm at least getting 0.8 grams a day per pound body weight of protein. Even if I wanted to use 220, my target goal, I'm going to get 220 grams of protein per day, non-negotiable. Now, after that, I can be a little bit more picky. If I want to drop fats, or I want to drop carbs, or I want to do both, it's a little bit subjective to the person how we want to do that, but we need to cut those down. So just understand, the moral of the story is protein never, ever, ever, ever changes. Whether you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, it needs to maintain. And even, so this is a personal thing that I do with people. For those people that are trying to lose weight, there are actually times where I'll bump their protein up even a little bit more, so it's a bigger, part of their calories. So say 0.8 to 1 is our normal. For some people, I'm like, hey, why don't you get 1.1 or 1.2? So you're getting a little bit more calories out of protein, which just leaves less for carbs and fat. That's also an okay technique to do. You're going to utilize all that protein like we talked about yesterday. So one more thing that we need to discuss is, say you are trying to lose weight, right? And all you do is lower calories. You will lose weight. However, one of the problems that we face is that a lot of people are only doing cardiovascular work when they're trying to cut weight, because they're like, oh, I got to burn more calories, burn, 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 burn. It's not wrong. However, you're not resistance training, and that has to be a component of what you are doing. When you are physically active, especially when you are resistance training, you are lifting weights, you are doing some kind of, you're putting your muscles against a resistance. That makes you utilize the protein that you're consuming, right? So obviously you're still going to lose weight whether you were to exercise or not, because your calories are lower. That's just the nature of things. However, we want to optimize it. So to optimize it, not only do you need to be getting your protein in, but you must be resistance training. You're going to maximize the anabolic response that you're going to get through that exercise. And thus, more of that protein gets used, your muscles get bigger, you get stronger, and you're at the very least not losing some of your skeletal mass. That is our ultimate goal when it comes down to losing weight, but still maintaining your muscle. And so just understand today, I know I'm trying to keep this quick and condensed because we can kind of get into the weeds in it if we want to. But whether you are just counting calories, whether you're doing some kind of keto diet or whatever diet, or you're doing intermittent fasting, all of which I have no problem with any of those things. I think there are caveats to all of them, but those are subjective to the person. Some people that are intermittent fasting, sometimes I actually will have them do it, but we might throw in like a protein shake or a protein bar once or twice before their eating window. Those calories really aren't making a difference. And the ultimate goal of IF when it comes to losing weight is the fact that you're just eating in a shorter window. There are other, ancillary benefits that can be shoved off to a different time. Fasting has its place in the world. But from a losing weight perspective, there are some people there that I will give like a protein shake or a protein bar or something so that they're not completely not having anything and we're getting their protein numbers in. But as a whole, you want to lose weight, but you want to maintain your muscle. You have to do a couple of things. One, you don't sacrifice how much protein you intake, okay? 0.8 to 1 gram, and for some people I go like 1.1, 1.3 grams per pound body weight. Number two, you must resistance train so that you still utilize all of that protein. As long as you're cutting in the other categories and we're being smart about that, that's going to make a massive difference. I've already talked on here about ways that you can kind of work around to lose weight. One of them being just eat protein and your vegetables before you get into your carbs, because you're just going to be more satiated and thus you just tend to eat a little bit less. Being smart about the appetizers that you have. If you start with breads and, chips and what have you, you tend to not feel as full. Glucose goes up, it drops down, you get hungry again. Those things happen. But just generically speaking, protein never changes. number one. Number two, you must resistance train so that you're actively using that protein and you're getting a good anabolic response. If you do those things, you'll be jacked and tan and you'll watch the fat come off. Simple as that. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. Have a wonderful weekend. Get after it, work hard, get jacked, do bicep curls, all those kind of things. Love on your family, go to church. I think I've covered pretty much all the bases. I love all of you. God bless. Be strong. Whew, a lot of protein talk. Let's get after it, boys.